And welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Danny Cannell, that's Tom Fornelli, that's Barton Simmons. Thanks to all of you who are listening to us audio form, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. We are also available on YouTube, youtube.com/cover3 for that multi-platform excellence. And those videos can also be found through the CBS Sports app. The CBS Sports app, of course, you can get on your mobile device. Just sort of scan down, look for us, and then also on your OTT device. So you got that CBS Sports app on your Apple TV, on your Roku. We'll go find full episodes of the Cover 3 podcast there. It's Thursday, so we know why you're here. That you are here to come get these locks. Week 11, we saw our slate sort of get chopped a little bit throughout the week as we've got, Alabama LSU ends up getting postponed, Texas A&M Tennessee, the Georgia Missouri, Auburn, and Mississippi State. Off the top of my head, those are all very notable ones because they're in the SEC, but there are other ones as well. So we've got a little bit less to work with, though. If I were to guess, I would assume that, there's still some great angles out there. Is it a full card? Because I will admit, I'm not coming in here with my 12, maybe 15 approach that I have in previous weeks. I will admit I'm a little bit light. How are y'all looking?
Got Ohio State, Maryland got canceled too.
Ohio State, Maryland. That was a great opportunity to jump on the Terps. Mm-hmm. I know.
Yeah, my card's smaller than usual.
51 games. We got 51 games still being played as of today. Now, that fully aware there might be a few more. There's some other Jeopardy. There are plenty of opportunities out there to get some locks.
I came into this. I woke up this morning having done some preliminary prep last night, and I felt horrible about the slate. I was Western Michigan with 2 minutes to go in the game last night, and then got an onside kick, got a few plays, fake spike touchdown, and here I am, and I'm kind of feeling good now. So I don't. It's not a loaded slate, but at least I found a few I liked.
Yeah,
Tom,
bring that up.
Yeah, the process was on Toledo money line, and that's a result. That's a way to go on the fake spike walk-off win. Not quite walk-off winner, but ending up being game-winning touchdown.
Tom, you don't deserve that. You really don't. But you do deserve what happened to you one night earlier. Okay? Never, ever do that again. Okay? Let that be a lesson to you.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. I'm not going to name check him, but I will never ever take the team with the player who dropped 3 touchdown passes in a single game.
I did. I was watching because I played that. I played Buffalo laying the points, and I also played the anti-Van Gorder. And I spent a lot of time watching the anti-Van Gorder play. So I was flipping channels, and every time I flipped over to the Buffalo-Miami game, somebody was dropping a pass. It was pretty remarkable.
All right, let's take a look at last week before we dive in. Tom, 5-3 for the week. That brings you to 37-33 on the season. Any lessons or anything that stood out to you, notes that you're taking ahead?
I think I'm off Michigan for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Our lock infinity died because nothing really stood out too much. The BYU Boise game, that was a horrible loss in that it came nowhere close to covering, but I'm not really upset about that one because the principle was right. It was just, Boise lost its backup quarterback early in the game, and then it was down to his 4th-string later in the game. So, when you got your 4th-string QB going against BYU this year, it's probably not going to work out very well. And the only other game I was completely wrong in was the Clemson Notre Dame under, which just that kind of became a shootout out of nowhere that I was not expecting. But that was mostly because I didn't think Ian Book was going to have the game of his life, which he did. So
very true. Barton, 4-5 for the week, 39-30 overall. Lessons learned, notes taken forward. Any teams that we're adjusting our power ratings for?
No, it was just that's on the coaching staff. That's on the, I'm not going to put that one on the players. That's on the coaching staff last week. Felt very unprepared. I feel lucky and fortunate to get out of that week, just -1. So we'll do better this week.
Chip was 4-4 for the second week in a row. Just sitting right there, just moving chips around. That's all we're doing here. We win a little, we lose a little, just handing the vig and tipping the dealer on the way out. I would say that, of all the plays, I don't know if y'all were tracking Fresno UNLV, but that one was one that I'm, the fade UNLV play almost bit me. Like I came in with a little bit too much confidence. The fade Colorado State Steve Adazio play ended up being a loss right there, but Fresno -11 was a win that has me a little bit shook in that principle. We'll just put it on the back burner for right now, and we'll continue to track it. I'm not going to say I didn't deserve it because we're happy to take all the wins that we can get. But let's just say that was like a 3 or 4 point game late in the fourth quarter, and barely get out of there with a 13-point win. Pretty incredible stuff for the Bulldogs. Danny, 6-4 on the week. The heaviest card that we had, and you finish in a tie for first place with a plus-minus of +2. You're now up to 40-27 on the entire season. That is the lead. Any notes or any power ratings adjustments?
That was bad. I felt like I let us off the rails with the lead-off pick of Michigan laying 2.5, although I think anybody who led the way there would have all jumped on it anyway. So that was the only game that really bothered me. And I don't know. Tom says I'm not done with Michigan. I don't know. There might be some more opportunity with Michigan. We shall see.
Oh, all right. Well, y'all ready to lock it up?
Let's do it.
Yep.
Picking locks.
My blue plate special 5-star locks are coming.
Since 2005, when Service Academy's
Come get these locks. 5-star master lock. Lock it up.
The under is 33-9-1. We've gone over it a million times.
You want these locks?
I'm living and dying every point, every cover.
So Danny and Tom tied for the lead. Danny wins the tiebreaker as he has the season lead. So a lot of responsibility. If you're a little bit concerned about the way you let us off, come on. All right.
I don't know. Last week was such an obvious play. We all jumped all over it. I don't know if anybody's going to jump all over this one because I'm going to go to the Big Ten. I'm going to go with a team that I've really liked watching this season, and I think they might be pretty good. I'm going to go with Indiana, who's playing Michigan State. They are a touchdown favorite in this matchup. I don't think Michigan's very good. Michigan State's very good. I think Indiana is good. Like we keep on looking at them saying that first one was fluky versus Penn State. And, Jim Harbaugh says we're close. That was an impressive win, and they're off to an impressive start. I know there's the potential for a letdown game. East Lansing, you're on the road. Like it's noon. I get all that. But I also feel like once you start accomplishing things that you haven't done in 20, 30 years, there's an excitement that starts to build, a confidence that starts to build. And I think Indiana will be focused. I don't think you have to worry about a look ahead to Ohio State. I don't think Indiana's that type of program. Yeah, they're going to be excited about Ohio State in a couple weeks, but they have to make sure they take care of business first. I think they're playing great football. I think maybe they're just a good football team. Michigan State has been a little bit all over the map. They were awful last week versus Iowa. I think they'll get a little bit better, which is why I am taking both Indiana laying 7, but I'm also taking the over 52.5. If you notice, Indiana's offense has been explosive, right? They put up 35 against Penn State. They had 37 against Rutgers, 38 versus Michigan. But they've also given up a lot of those points in those games. And I'm counting on a Rocky Lombardi performance where maybe he doesn't turn it over as much as he did. I'm kind of going with the roulette wheel, like play the odds, because he was horrible in week 1 against Rutgers, and then he cleaned it up against Michigan, and then he was horrible again in Iowa with 3 picks in that game. I think he'll dial it back, and I think they'll have some offensive success. I think they'll put some points on the board, and I don't think anybody's slowing down Indiana. So I'm taking Indiana laying the 7 and the over 52.5.
I can get you 52.
Even better. Love it.
Anybody else getting on it?
No.
Those are I think those are gutsy picks.
By the way, Indiana 3-0 against the spread this year, and their 3-0 its overs are hitting 3. They're 3-0 at overs in their game.
Yeah, I was looking at this game as a possibility this week.
It's a weird slate.
Yeah, it's like I couldn't really get a great feel on either side. I could see just about anything happening in this one. So, yeah, I can't lock up anything in it.
Yeah, I don't trust
the
these
Big Ten
teams.
in general is kind of,
Wonky,
you're on
yeah.
your own. It's taking, yes.
Look, I'm gonna speaking of the Big Ten, I'm gonna dive in here. Look, I think that Danny, I appreciate the way you you recap last week. It's very quarterback of you. You accepted the blame for the lock infinity. You didn't have to do that, and I feel like
Team captain.
That is, that's inspiring. And with that, and following that, you kind of gave a little bit of a hint that maybe you're thinking about diving back in on the Wolverines. And so, you know what? Like, I think that this is you're calling on me. I think as being a good quarterback leader, and I'm going to rally around that sort of leadership, and I'm going to go back into the jaws of Harbaugh and the total just ridiculous season that Michigan has put together to this point. And I'm gonna look fear in the face, and I'm gonna say, like, let's go. Give me Michigan again this week. We are, what are we at?
4.5.
4.5, catching 4.5 points. I said earlier this week, I would never take Michigan against Wisconsin. Trust Wisconsin too much.
You also fired Jim Harbaugh as head coach of Barton A&M. You were going right back to the man that you were going to run out of town.
And if he beats Wisconsin, that doesn't change what I'm thinking here in terms of the job security. Barton A&M, you're still walking. But here's the thing, though. We go back to the first week of that Wisconsin blowout of Illinois, and let's recalibrate that game with the new information that Rutgers is a touchdown favorite over Illinois this week, right? Okay, so we've got that. We've got the idea that first week, Wisconsin didn't even really run the ball that effectively. It was the Graham Mertz show throwing the football. So Graham Mertz is like right about now, like peeking out of like the hotel room, like sun in the eyes, like having been holed up for the last 2 weeks in quarantine. And now he's supposed to just like walk out of the practice field and be clicking on all cylinders. I don't know if I buy that. So we'll see if he plays. If he doesn't, is it even Chase Wolf? Is it Danny Vandenboom? I don't know who it is at the quarterback position. We don't really know how many guys are out of quarantine protocol, contact tracing stuff anyways from Wisconsin. And that brings us to Michigan. And there's no reason to trust Michigan here. And I'm making this play resigned to the idea that like I don't feel great about it, but I just think when you're catching points and when their back is against the wall, like they know how important this game is. They know that Jim Harbaugh knows his job security is on the line. And I just think that this is an opportunity to buy very low on Michigan against a team in Wisconsin that could be facing as many or more obstacles than Michigan is in this setting.
You're insane.
Are you going to fight it?
No, I'm not touching this game. It's to go back to your point, like mentioning the fact of Wisconsin played Illinois, killed Illinois, and now Illinois is a touchdown underdog to Rutgers. Keep in mind, Wisconsin played Illinois with its
Brandon
starting lineup. Illinois playing Rutgers this week with its fourth-string quarterback, one of its starting defensive linemen without its starting kicker. All these guys are still out for Illinois. That's why it's a touchdown favorite. But as far as Michigan, I think Mertz is going to play. I mean, he has been practicing because he was able to practice the last 7 days. It's just he's got to pass the cardio screens.
Mertz
and all those
has been practicing for 7 days. Is that true? Is that accurate?
No. I think he started practicing on Monday.
We got a week of practice. A week of practice.
Paul Christ mentioned, Paul Christ was being kind of coy about it, but I think based on the Big Ten's regulations, he has to quarantine or be out for 14 days. And then as long as he's not testing positive anymore, he could start practicing after that. It's just he can't be cleared to play for another week because they want to do all the cardio stuff. And he does still have to pass some tests and before they could clear him to play. But I do think all signs are pointing to him playing. And my concern is Michigan's defense, man. Like, there's no pass rush. There's nothing in the secondary. So whether Wisconsin wants to run at it or throw at it, I feel like the Badgers are going to be successful. But again, I'm staying away from this because we know Graham Mertz was out. We also know that like a total of 23 people in the program have tested positive. I think six or seven were on the coaching staff, but that leaves like 15 players. We don't know who the other players are. Like Mertz is the only one we know because he was the first. So I have no idea what Wisconsin's going to look like, so I can't take them to cover, but I would be on Wisconsin well before I took Michigan in this spot.
Doesn't it feel like Barton's also got a content hedge here in the same way that he was like, I will gladly take a personal loss, a lock loss for the Jim Harbaugh content if Michigan goes on to lose this game, because this is a home game, and to lose to Wisconsin to just add more fuel to the fire. I mean, we would be even deeper down the rabbit hole of the Jim Harbaugh hot khakis if Wisconsin goes in there and wins this by more than 4.5.
I'm going to jump in this game, but I'm not going to take a side. I'm going to take the over in this one.
Good
Tom
trend.
just gave me like the kind I was debating on. I'm like, all right, and you're right. The defense has been horrible. There were dudes running all over the field for Indiana. But I also do believe, and I watched some film from Michigan, when Harbaugh says we're close, I don't think he's lying. There were some plays to be made against Indiana offensively. It's a little bit, some of them were errant throws. Like Joe Milton has to tighten it up. He has to hit on those 3rd and longs when there's a receiver running right down the middle of the field and he just overthrows him by a foot. It's like right there, it's inches. Like some point, they're getting good plays called. They're getting guys open. They just need to make it happen. And I don't know what Wisconsin's going to be. Kind of like you're like, if they have players out, that might affect it. But I think Michigan's got some offensive firepower. I think they could put up points. So I'm going to take the over in this one. What's the best I can get? 54?
I can get you 53.5.
Even better. I'll take it.
Got to be a little wild-eyed this season, guys. You can't be looking for the safe plays. You gotta have a little bit of crazy in you this year.
All right, fine. You want crazy? I'll show you crazy. You're going to give me the opportunity to get double digits in the Phil Dracovic revenge game. I mean, the red bandana game, a letdown after the win against Clemson game, when Boston College gave us exactly the performance that we wanted to see. Like, the last thing that I wanted to see from Boston College was to have everything clicking against Syracuse just because everything was riding high. No, they got that letdown. They snuck out a win. They were able to spend some extra time clearly preparing for trying to defend the run against Notre Dame. Now, if Ian Book plays the best game of his college career again, then this might get a little dicey. But I think that Boston College will catch Notre Dame in a little bit of a letdown spot, and I am locking up Boston College plus 13.5 with great confidence in the sort of because college football ups and downs of the season. They almost did it against Clemson, and then 2 weeks later, they get another shot. They might do it, but I think 13.5 gives me enough wiggle room that it's a great ticket to root for. It's something that I absolutely see being potential. And if I think an outright upset might even be there, then you've got to lock up that 13.5.
Lock agreement. Yeah, it's a lot of the same reasons you said, because it's history repeating itself. Danny, you're well aware of this one. Back in 1993,
Reynolds Storm, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Notre Dame upset a number 1 Florida State in South Bend. The last time it happened, young Danny Cannell on the sidelines watching it. And then the next week, Notre Dame lost to Boston College. This week, Notre Dame upsets number 1 Clemson at home in South Bend for the first time since then. And now they have to play Boston College. And like you said, Chip, Boston College last week was clearly kind of, looking ahead a little bit the way it played. And also, Barton, as you've mentioned the last few weeks, Notre Dame was not being shy about the fact that this was the game they were looking forward to. This is the game they've been building up to. So now they've played, or the Clemson game was the game they've been building up to. So now they've played it. That tells me that maybe, there's probably going to be a decent letdown. I don't think Notre Dame's going to lose this game, but I do think that with Boston College building up to this game the same way that Notre Dame was building up to Clemson, and it being the red bandana game and there being that kind of emotional attachment to the game, and then the Phil Yurkovich revenge angle too, I just think that Boston College is good enough to stick within 2 touchdowns of the Irish here, because I don't expect Notre Dame to play as well as it did last week. I think we're going to see a natural drop off. It's only human to be emotional let down after having such a huge win. I still think they're too good for Boston College to win, but it's probably going to look a lot like the BC Clemson game, where BC might have a lead at halftime and Notre Dame's going to have to slap itself around in the locker room at halftime and come back out and win the game. But I think the Eagles are going to cover.
And Boston College is a good team. This is not a fade Notre Dame play exclusively. This is acknowledging that if we're going to take the ACC and we're going to sort of divide it down the middle, Boston College is without a doubt in the top half of the ACC, and you might be able to make an argument that they are top 5 in the ACC. So it is also with great confidence in Boston College and sort of the way that team has competed and the way it's played so far this year against some of the best teams. It's played one bad game. The Virginia Tech loss was bad, but they played well against Clemson in a loss, and they played well against North Carolina in a loss. And so I think the Eagles are good, and I think a good football team with all these situational aspects. Jeff Hafley, man. Jeff Hafley Hive rides.
That said, if I bet this on Saturday, I'll probably buy a hook.
To try and get it to 14?
Yeah.
Yeah. But locking it up at 13.5.
Mm-hmm.
You want to fight?
I would like to fight.
Fight.
Gotta be a little wild-eyed this year. Got a little crazy in you. I early in the week, I had this. Remember last night in my preliminary research, I actually had Boston College on my card. And then I woke up this morning and I did a little bit additional research, and I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna flip to the other side here. Here's my thought process. First of all, I'm having a really difficult time determining which side of this is the square side. Like, do you guys remember in The Princess Bride when the guy is like, has the 2 cups and one of them has poison in it, and he's like, you're going to pick this cup, but you know that I put poison in this cup. And so it's this cup. And like and so total this brain F. And so like you're sitting here, and is the square side the fact that,
but you would guess that I would guess, right? You would guess.
Yeah. Notre Dame just beat the number 1 team in the country. So of course, like they're going to kill the Boston College team, but is the square side the fact that, but everyone knows that this is a letdown spot. And so Boston College is the team to play. And so I think all that stuff gets to be where it's kind of, for me, at least, like a wash, right? So the letdown's probably baked in. The beating the number 1 team is probably baked in. The line's just probably about where it needs to be. And so I think the way that I'm looking at this is this. The more I look at this game, it's like, all right, what are Boston College's strengths on offense? They are the explosive pass play. Kobe White, Phil Dracovic getting downfield. And they have a really like maybe they ran a little better last week, but they really don't have a very good running game. And one of the keys, I think, one of the keys to Notre Dame's success defensively has been under Clark Lee is like, he is really good at taking away what you do best. If there's only one thing you do well, you better find an alternative, a complementary, like winning factor there. And like he took away Travis Etienne last weekend, totally took him away. And you know what? Clemson still put up some points, but it took a record-breaking performance by DJ Uiagalelei, a true freshman, to do it. All right, I think he'll be able to limit that pass game a little bit. They have big corners. You know, BC's good on the perimeter, but they're not big on the perimeter. I think they'll figure out a game plan that might work there. Okay, so there's that. And then on the other side of the ball, they're pretty good against the pass. Boston College defensively, they're not that good against the run. I think Notre Dame might be able to just get in here and just kind of kick some ass. And it just feels like one of those, again, like to me, it feels a little more like, well, everyone sort of sees this one coming a little bit. And the more surprising outcome almost would be Notre Dame blowout. And I just kind of feel like I'm leaning more towards the more surprising outcome.
All right. You guys remember in Top Gun when, early in the movie, he didn't like Iceman, right? He was the nemesis of Maverick. Nobody liked him, right? It was just an adversarial relationship. I felt like we had that some last week. At the end of the movie, we got to get to the you can be my wingman anytime type mode. And that's where I am right now. I'm going lock agreement with Barton here because.
So that means, ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4. I declare lock war. Lock war. Lock war.
Yes, indeed.
Hell
This is
yeah.
a first, right, for the Cover 3
Yes,
podcast.
first
A lock
ever.
war. Just some other nuggets for you as we dive in some of these numbers. The Barton-Danny combo is 5-2 in lock agreement. The Tom Chip is 8-8. So just if you're listening, you want to take one of those sides, one of those leans. The other thing is Notre Dame has won their last 4 road games by at least 18 with an average differential of 28. They're 3-1 against the spread in that span. The only time they didn't cover was Georgia Tech earlier this season. I agree with everything Barton said. And I also feel like the new Brian Kelly, a little chippy, a little bit, I told you so. I think he's telling his players, you know what? No one thinks you're good still. You guys didn't beat them. They didn't have Trevor Lawrence. They didn't have a lot of defensive players. No one's really giving you credit. I think he still has some motivational tactics that he can use to make sure his team doesn't overlook this team, as well as pointing out the last time this happened in 1993, that they did lose the next game. Like you can have that, see if those players who weren't even born yet can still, have an influence on them. And I think it will. Plus, I don't know. I wonder where BC is. And I think Notre Dame is a really, really good football. I think they're kind of peaking at the right time. They started off a little sluggish. I think their offense is starting to evolve. And I think Ian Book is playing with a lot of confidence. I think that was kind of one of those career-defining moments for him where I think Notre Dame gets it done.
That game is one of the games that you can pick in the CBSSports.com college pick'em. All right, here's the way you do it. You go to CBSSports.com/college, and you will see that you got a couple of different options. You can enter as a solo entry, costs nothing to enter, and you will be in the mix to get the $1,000 weekly cash prize. But you can also form a group, get together some friends, get together some coworkers. All of you can compete against each other. The college pick'em is set up such that you fill out the entire card, all against the spread, all games on Saturday, and you submit it. Again, solo entries get entered into the competition for the $1,000 weekly cash prize, or you could enter as a group and compete against each other. There's also season-long standings, and Real Mac Daddy is just crushing it out here. So congrats to Real Mac Daddy. And again, that game at 13.5, Notre Dame and Boston College is one of the games that you can select. Indiana, Michigan State, also one of the locks that we've broken down here. That is also on it. CBSSports.com/college. It is the College Football Pick'em Challenge. The competition will be open until noon on Saturday. And every week it opens on Tuesday if you want to get it in early. Maybe you want to wait for this episode, the Locks podcast, to get your entry in. CBSSports.com/college for the College Football Pick'em Challenge. Another game from that card that I would like to take us to is Miami and Virginia Tech. These are two teams. They were Big East foes. They were ACC coastal foes. And in this big 15-team, one-division ACC, it does have some ACC championship implications, but really, obviously, only for Miami. And even Miami's chances are looking a little bit longer right now because, Miami's only loss so far is to Clemson. If the season ended today, they're on the outside looking in because they lose the head-to-head tiebreaker against one-loss Clemson. Miami does not have a game against Notre Dame the rest of the way where they might be able to pick up that head-to-head. So the paths to victory for Miami in terms of making it to the ACC championship game. So, starting to slip away from them. They need some help. They need either Clemson to lose again or Notre Dame to lose twice. And Miami needs to be able to finish out the rest of the season without a loss. And it is that part of the equation that makes me think that around that program and on that team, this might be a little bit of a trap spot. Now, I initially went into this as a DK special, right? Top 10 team on the road finds himself as a narrow underdog against a Virginia Tech team that just lost to Liberty. What are the odds makers thinking? What are the odds makers doing? I think that when I started to dig into it, I found myself more in line with the odds makers because this Miami defense gave up a lot to NC State's offense, and Virginia Tech's offense. I mean, when it is clicking, Virginia Tech's offense is one of the 5 or 10 best offenses in the entire country among Power 5 teams. Among teams that have played 5 or more games in the Power 5, they are 4th only to Alabama, Florida, and North Carolina in terms of yards per play. And Khalil Herbert, their star running back, averages more than 100 yards per game at like 8 yards per carry. He was out of the game, didn't have any offensive snaps against Liberty in the loss. So Virginia Tech, we talk about a backs against the wall moment. Everybody is furious with Justin Fuente right now. They are frustrated with the way that Virginia Tech has played this season. And so at home with the top 10 team in town, who may or may not be a top 10 team, but they are a top 10 team, I will take the Hokies to cover the short number. I'm seeing a 1.5 out there. Now, I don't know about this rogue book that's out here trying out a 1.5. I'll take it at 2 if that's a more consensus number.
It's 2 is the more consensus, but 1.5 does exist, and it's not like a rogue book. It's a rather large book, so I think you should be able to get it.
All right, let's go. 1.5, Virginia Tech, lock it up.
Lock agreement.
Oh, man. Whoop, wrong button.
We've talked about this. Like, Miami's the top 10 team, and it's the underdog against the unranked team. That's something that you can't ignore when you see it. And also, just as far as the matchup, like you mentioned, Miami's defense has not been very good as of late. Its offense has been carrying it, but just as far as this specific matchup is concerned, Virginia Tech ranks 8th nationally in rushing success rate. Running the ball and running it well is what Virginia Tech does. It's what Virginia Tech's offense is built around. Defensively, Miami ranks 73rd against the run in success rate. This is not a good matchup for the Miami defense. We saw it, going back to even early in the season where Miami did a good job overall against Louisville, but they were still able to get big plays in the run game. That has been something that has consisted through Miami's entire season defensively. They have a good front seven. They create havoc, and these are all important things, and it helps them. But they also give up big plays on the ground, and I think Virginia Tech is going to find enough big plays on the ground to win this one. And at some point, Miami's offense is not going to be able to just, keep outscoring its opponent. At some point, Derek King is going to have a bad game or a bad play, because that might be in what I think this could be a shootout. I've also considered taking the over here. I feel like one bad play could decide this game, and I feel like Miami's luck has to catch up to it at some point, because it's been overperforming its numbers pretty much the entire season. And I think Virginia Tech is going to win this game. And I think Virginia Tech's, it's not going to be like, I think they could win by 10, but I think it's probably going to be like a 7-point win here for the Hokies. And I don't know if last week really has any kind of impact on it as far as the way that game ended. In fact, I think if that has an impact on the game, it would probably be for the negative. But I just think that the Hokies are going to bounce back here and take down a Hurricanes team that it's just not been nearly as good as its record suggests all season long.
Danny, do you have a play on this?
Oh, you want to fight again? You want more?
I don't know what to do with this game. Miami had 10 players announced out before the game against NC State. That was a little skewed. I was looking at Manny Diaz, said they're back. Like, I don't know what's going on. I was leaning under because the total is so high at 67.5. And then Mr. Under himself said he likes the over. He was considering that one. So everything here is telling me just to sit tight and demonstrate some discipline.
Well, I'll say this, Chip. I'm not going to fight.
Okay.
If anything, I would be like UNITYing this thing. If you are if you believe in that there's any value in post-game win expectancy, then there is a world in which Virginia Tech is, how many games they played? 7, where they're 6-1.
Mm-hmm.
And Miami is 5-2. So if a 6-1 Virginia Tech coming into this game is a 2-point favorite over a 5-2 Miami, then that obviously makes a little more sense on the line. I agree that, Miami defensively, they've really been better against the pass because of the way that defensive line can get after the quarterback. It's not really what Virginia Tech wants to do to beat you. I also considered the over on this. So over Army Cadets, you can feel free to dive in on that. I think, I don't know. This is definitely falls under, like, you got to be crazy this year to win, because this game it takes some onions to dig in on this one. I'm going to stay away for now, see what else comes off the card, but I'm tempted to join you guys.
A reminder for our listeners too, ranked underdogs this year, 4-16-1 against the spread.
Wow, it's a big number.
All right. Who wants it?
Okay, so I'll stay in the ACC. I'll be curious what other people think on this one. Oh God, I'm gonna play.
Always a good sign.
I'm gonna play Dave Doran as a double-digit favorite. Yeah. Ugh.
I like it.
I
Okay.
don't blame you.
All right.
I mean, yeah, it's a fade Knowles to go, right?
It's a fade Knowles to go. I would typically, just on principle, if NC State is laying 10 points, NC State is laying a touchdown, that's when you start just like looking at the other side. But I just think Florida State is just an absolute dumpster fire right now. I mean, Jordan Travis, I think, is still banged up. I would assume that they're going to play maybe a little bit of Jordan Travis. Maybe we get a lot of Chubba Purdy. Defensively, they're not. I don't think that they're that good right now. They're not. They're pretty banged up there. They got guys. Marvin Wilson's out for the year. Tamori Terry on offense has left the team. I don't know. Maybe this is like one of these deals where it's just too obvious and they rally and circle the wagons and they have a pretty good showing, but I just don't know, man. I think NC State is, as long as there's not some crazy COVID issues over there that I don't know about, I feel like they are good enough on offense. And I don't think Florida State is good enough defensively to make NC State play left-handed. I think NC State will be able to do what it wants to do. And so I think they'll be able to put up points. I just don't have the same confidence in Florida State. So I'm playing NC State laying the points. And here's another one too, that I don't know if this goes on the card necessarily, but I think I'm going to play this on my personal wagers. The quarterback scorned teaser. All right. It's like my hedge for Notre Dame. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a 2-unit play on Notre Dame laying the points. And then I'm going to hedge it with the quarterback scorned teaser. I'm going to go NC State -4 with Bailey Hockman going up against Florida State, and Phil Jurkovec catching 19.5 going up against his former team in Notre Dame. Because I do think there's a good middle there you could hit with that Notre Dame play where Notre Dame wins by about 17, 18 points. And then, you win the whole kit and caboodle. So give me the quarterback scoring teaser on top of NC State -7 and Notre Dame -13.5.
So are we putting that on the card?
No. That's just
going to be. Let's not put it on the card. But that's going to be my own sort of personal financial situation.
No, it's Masters Week. He just came out. He was like, "Yo, we got Sandies, Greenies, Polies." You just got your full array of side bets here from Barton Simmons on the Cover 3 podcast.
I can get you 9.5, by the way.
Okay, I'll take 9.5.
Unless you want the 10.
I would like 9.5. I would like 9.5.
All right. I'm going to go next here. If anything, I know about like a defense, most defenses, the last thing that they really want to do, particularly defensive linemen, is face an option team. But you know what's worse than facing an option team? Facing an angry option team, an angry option team that's been sitting at home for the last couple of weeks wanting to play, that hasn't had a chance to play. And that is why I feel really sorry for my beloved wave Tulane, because they're getting an angry Army on Saturday. Jeff Monken has been pissed off about Air Force canceling the game, and he's still pissed off about it. He's been complaining about it in the media. He hates Air Force. He hates that they canceled the game. He thinks that they could have played it. He thinks there was some shenanigans. Air Force just wanted to get out of it. So he's going to take it out on Tulane. And I know Tulane played Navy earlier this year. It was a crazy game. And overall, frankly, Tulane did pretty well defensively, stopping the Navy attack. It's just, I think we can all agree there's a difference in levels between Army this year and the Navy team this year. So I don't know how seriously we should take it, especially because that was still early in the season when Navy hadn't, been practicing the entire offseason. They were still, it was kind of like their preseason still. And I think Army in this game is going to cover at a minimum. It might be a money line sprinkle as well. But for now, I'm taking Army plus 5.5 at Tulane.
Love it. Absolutely love it. One of the first teams to get out there. I mean, it seems like a year ago that Army was just thumping Middle Tennessee, and Middle Tennessee defenders were opting out in the middle of the game. Oh, coach, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out. Just slowly working their way to the sideline. Nothing here that would stand in the way of that. We're just already a little bit too in sync for me to jump on the a third lock agreement. Yeah, you listed those lock agreements. We're 8-8, but that 16 total's got to be the biggest on the board.
Yes.
Agreements or fights. Nobody finds themselves linked together quite like Tom Fernelli and myself. All right. I will take us to another. Now, I hope this game's still looking good. I'm going to take us to another transfer quarterback revenge game. I think it's time to saddle up with Felipe Franks and the Arizona Razorbacks as they go up against Florida. We've got a big old honking number. We saw last week in the locks, Arkansas helped take us to Cover Town with that under. And while Florida's offense does appear to be in total, just clicking, just rolling through everybody, every time they get the ball, it looks like they're ready to score a touchdown. Doesn't even matter if Kyle Pitts is out of the lineup. Kyle Trask is just lighting up Georgia. I do think that if you're going to consider the ups and downs and the rhythms of this week, that 17.5 is a big number to ask for the Gators against an Arkansas team that's been really competitive. So we've got Felipe Franks transfer quarterback revenge game angle. You could maybe throw it in there if you want to add it to the teaser and get even more value. If you go Felipe Franks, Bailey Hockman, and Phil Dracovic. But I think
I would
that right
absolutely
now,
support that, by the way.
Yeah. If I think right now, I think that's a great spot for the Razorbacks here, catching Florida after all the emotions of finally getting that win, snapping the streak. Let's get on the Hogs. It's just the rhythms of college football. Plus 17.5.
Dig it.
Yeah, I agree. Lock agreement.
Are you locking it up?
Yeah. Play the children. I mean, I think this has been a Arkansas defense that has, under Barry Odom, been really good at just sort of being patient, not forcing the issue, making teams earn it. And Florida's going to get theirs, as they always do, but I think it'll be a little bit tougher going, and I don't think they're going to be handed it to them in the way that maybe they, even against Georgia, all they know is just to be totally aggressive, and I think Arkansas is going to have a little bit more willingness to sort of die a slow death there. And on the flip side, I mean, it's crazy to say this, but I think like the issues that Florida may have on the back end of its defense, Arkansas is more equipped to take advantage of those than Georgia is. And so I think that Florida is going to be fine here, but 17.5 is a big number. Arkansas has been a cover machine. I'll keep on riding it. Give me Arkansas laying the points or catching the points, I guess.
And great point about Barry Odom. In Barry Odom against Dan Mullen 2018, only 17 points for the Florida Gators. Barry Odom against Dan Mullen 2019, only 23 points for the Florida Gators. The first one was a 38-17 Missouri win. The second one was a 23-6 Florida win. Either way, those two matchups where Barry Odom was with Missouri and Dan Mullen was at Florida, the Gators did not top 24 points.
Oh, man, you guys are killing me. Arkansas 6-0 against the spread. The only FBS team with at least 4 games played that's still unbeaten versus the spread. They've covered 8 straight games, even going back to last season.
Are you playing roulette here? It's gone too many times on the red.
My question, well, then there's also some trends that favor Dan Mullen, because Dan Mullen since 2018 is 10-4 against the spread as a double-digit favorite, and he's 8-2 against the spread as a 2-touchdown favorite. Is Kyle Pitts playing? That for me is why I'm not playing this game, because if he plays, I would be tempted to take that kind of go the opposite way of you guys. If he doesn't, then I'm like, man, I like Arkansas a little bit better, but I don't know. I was trying to find that out. And I feel like you guys are on the right side with Arkansas for all the reasons you mentioned. I just don't know what Kyle Pitts. And I think Kyle Pitts, and we saw that in the Georgia game, made such a difference when he's on the field versus when he's not. We saw what it was like without. And yes, you can game plan, and it's going to change your passing game plan if he's playing versus he's not. That's a tough adjustment in game. But the fact that we don't know right now, I'm gonna stay away.
By the way, I'm locking it in right now as we speak. The 3-team quarterback scoring teaser. You're getting Boston College plus 23.5, NC State at a pick'em, and Arkansas plus 27 is where I'm getting it. Feeling good about that.
I might get in on that on Saturday. I just want to wait though. Make sure you know my philosophy about getting bets in too early these days.
Yeah, it's only a service academy under that would cause Tom Fornelli to rush ahead of the market. You guys ever feel like you're always on? Well, what do you do when you need a moment to chill? I mean, when you just need to hit the reset button, you're getting pulled from one thing to another. You're trying to balance home and work, and it can be a lot. Well, when everything's just go, 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 and you do need that moment to chill, well, that's when I reach for Coors Light. It is the one beer that is literally made to chill. Coors Light wants you to know that no matter what games are on this weekend, Saturdays are your time to chill. Maybe your team is off this week. Maybe they did get a game postponed this week, but Coors Light is still the official beer of just sitting on the couch and watching college football. So flip through the channels, find a game, and crack open a cold Coors Light. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged, made to chill. It's as crisp and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies, perfect for any moment to unwind. It can get stressful. It will get stressful this weekend. I mean, like today, it was 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. On Saturday, it's going to be 9:45, 11, 1, 2, post round. That's when you can find me talking about the Masters on CBS Sports HQ. And at the same time, I'm taking in all the college football, getting ready for our instant reaction podcast, and I might need a moment to chill, and Coors Light will be right there for me. Coors Light is the one that I choose when I need to unwind. So when you want to hit reset, reach for the beer that is made to chill. Get Coors Light in the new look delivered straight to your door at get.coorslight.com. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Speaking of the Masters, go Xander. Keep going, buddy.
Go Xander. I believe in you. We believe in you, Xander. He's back at 2 under. This is not a live Masters updates. We'll more college football locked on the other side next. Also go Webb,
Yes, Webb's right behind him. Yeah.
Webb's right behind him. Love that.
Both.
I guess no, I don't have enough to just go ahead and grab the wheel there. I'll save my Webb Simpson Wake Forest shout out for a little bit later. Okay, so Tom, where do you want to go?
I will go I will go to my first under of the week. I'm looking at Pitt and Georgia Tech here, and I see this total, and it just strikes me as being a little bit too high. The best I can get it now is at 52.5, so that's where I'll take it. Like, Pitt's offense has not been very good all season long. They currently rank 74th nationally in points per drive at 2. Georgia Tech checks in at 106th at 1.49. So these are not two very explosive, efficient, productive offenses overall. And then, like, when you look at Georgia Tech's offense, the thing that it does well, even though it's no longer an option team, it is still a running team. It's best when it's moving the ball on the ground. It ranks 39th nationally in rushing success rate. It's just running the ball isn't the best way to beat Pitt and to move the ball against Pitt and put points up on the board against Pitt, because Pitt ranks 16th nationally in defensive success rate against the run. So I don't see Georgia Tech being able to get a lot of points in this game because they're going to have to move it through the air, which is just not what they're best at. And I don't think Pitt is best at anything offensively, honestly. I think it's best at playing defense and just trying to win games 16-13. So I see this total sitting at 52.5. I'm not sure the winning team's going to get to 26. So give me the under.
It does feel like Pitt's offensive explosion was a little bit of an aberration. I know Kenny Pickett was really happy to get back out there, but I don't know if we can count on that. That is not you should not be trusting a Pitt offense that has shown so little success in the red zone to be able to get you the touchdowns to get there. Totally get it. All right. Let's see. Who wants it? Danny?
Sure, I'll hop in here. I am going to play. I'm curious if the dentist has anything on this one, because then we have got some people asking about the dentist. South Carolina is playing on the road against Ole Miss. There's 2 plays on this one, like the 2-for-1 special. Ole Miss is laying 11.5. South Carolina, since they had their 2-game win streak, like they were 0-2, and they looked pretty good in those 2 losses. And then they had 2 wins. They beat Vanderbilt. They beat Auburn. Shocked the world. Since then, they've been struggling. They have looked not very good versus LSU and Texas A&M. Offensively, my man Colin Hill is struggling. He's got 4 interceptions in the last 4 games, including 2 this last week against Texas A&M. Ole Miss, on the other hand, coming off a thrashing of Vanderbilt. They've been putting up points on everybody and their brother. I think they will put up points on South Carolina. I think South Carolina will try to run the football behind Kevin Harris, who's 3rd in the SEC in rushing. Pretty good rusher. I think Ole Miss wins. I'm going to lay the 11.5, but I'm also going to take the under, because I do think South Carolina's game plan will be to keep it away from them. Like, let's try to run the football. It'll limit the exposure to our quarterback, sort of that old school SEC mindset. So I'm going to take the under 71 in this spot.
I can get you 11, by the way, with South Carolina.
Even better.
What does the dentist say?
The dentist is on the over.
Ooh.
I'd love to know, is because I feel like I've faded him a couple times on the totals, but
yeah. And by the way, the number right now is about what you got. Are you getting to 71? So it's out there somewhere at 70.5, right?
Yes.
Okay. So 70.5 for the dentist and 70.5 for your boy. I want the over as well.
Ooh.
Fight.
I mean, this is like Ole Miss's point totals this year. I get it. I get it that the value started creeping up, or I guess the value started creeping down because the total started creeping up. And I think some values returned, because I think I think Ole Miss is coming off a bye week. I think they're feeling like they're the only team in America that actually is enjoying playing football, the only team in the SEC. Lane Kiffin was like, I think that he said today, or maybe it was yesterday, a quote saying something like, I don't know, seems like maybe some of these teams just don't really want to play that much. And I don't think they feel that way. I think that they're excited to get back out there. I think they're going to be able to score some points. South Carolina's defense basically quit last week. Their offense didn't look much better, but you're right, Danny. I do think they're going to run the hell out of the football. And fortunately for the over, Ole Miss can't stop shit on the ground. Like they'll be okay. Like they'll remember what it feels like to move the football against that Ole Miss defense a little bit. So I'll join the dentist and all his haters, the growing army of haters, and we'll play the over.
The cavity crew, is that what we should call the dentist haters?
That's right.
So will the I'd like to address the general here, because I'm looking at a game between the North Carolina Tar Heels and the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Nice little fresh. It is absolutely dumping right now, but I think by the weekend it's going to clear out. Weather's going to correct a little bit. It'll be a good day to play football, a good day to get out and run a little bit. And that's where I think that we are going to have an over in Wake Forest and North Carolina. Wake Forest hasn't lost a game in almost 2 months now. Now, they had the Notre Dame game postponed until the end of the season. And I guess you could say Virginia Tech's the best quality win, maybe Virginia the second. Like, no one's giving them any flowers for beating Syracuse. But, man, Dave Clawson's group's playing some damn good football. Sam Hartman with the running back combo of Kenneth Walker and Christian Beal-Smith. The backfield's pretty good. You know, Donovan Green is a playmaker at wide receiver that has really emerged this season, especially with Sage Surratt being out. I think the Deacs are going to be able to move the ball. And I kind of think that North Carolina's offense is at a point where we should count on it to put up 35, almost 40 points. And so I think the game will be fun. I think the game will be competitive. And just with the styles of these two offenses, it just looks like a place where things are going to get up and going and things are going to be a little back and forth. And if you look at the spread right around 2 touchdowns, I think that's a really good number, because you start to work in thinking about what a 49-35 type game looks like. Well, guess what? That looks like an over. So I will be locking up the over 66.5.
I like that.
And get you 66.
I'll take 66.
All right, I'm going to double dip while we're in the Big Ten. I'm going to do like Danny. I'm going to go twice. I'm looking at the Northwestern Purdue game. And first, I'm going to take Northwestern minus 2.5, because Northwestern is on the road. And since Pat Fitzgerald took over at Northwestern, the Wildcats on the road are 51-33 and 1 against the spread. It's the same principle I used a couple weeks ago when I took them as short favorites on the road against Iowa. They were able to come through in that one. And I think they're going to be able to come through for me here against this Purdue team, because Purdue is 2-0. But it is one of the most fraudulent 2-0s that you're going to see in the country this year. They beat Iowa in their first game. Wasn't exactly a thrilling performance, but they got past them. And then in their second game, they beat Illinois by 7. But you got to remember, that's the game where that was the first time Brandon Peters was out. Their backup quarterback was out. They started their third stringer, Matt Robinson. He got hurt on like their first or second series. He was out the rest of the game. And Illinois had to turn to its fourth string quarterback, who turned the ball over 4 times during the game. And yet in the final minute, there was Illinois' offense in the red zone with a chance to tie the game, or if it wanted to, go for 2 and win the game. And I watched that game and I'm sitting there thinking, man, if Purdue's having this much trouble beating this Illinois team, I don't know how good it is, and I don't know if David Bell can continuously just bail the Purdue offense out over and over again. He might be able to. He's that good. It's just I don't think he's going to be able to do it against a defense like this Northwestern defense, which has been spectacular all season long, which now leads to my second play in this game. I am also going to be taking the under 50.5, because I just don't know how many points Purdue is going to be able to score against this Northwestern defense. And on the flip side, Northwestern's offense was fantastic in that opening game against Maryland. But as we've seen as the weeks go by, a lot of teams that have been bad offensively in other games have looked pretty good offensively against Maryland. And Northwestern's offense, while it's still better than last year's, because it would be hard to be, worse, it's kind of coming back to earth, and it's kind of starting to look a little more inefficient and maybe not as world beater as it did in that first week. So I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. Plus it's going to be a little windy. So give me the under and Northwestern.
Been trying to figure out this Northwestern Purdue game, and I'm glad that it's making sense now that you said that. I'm not going to play it, but I like your thought process there with Northwestern.
All right. I've got one left.
Ooh, light slate, huh?
Yeah, real light.
Mm-hmm.
I might have one left. I'm kind of tapped out on for sure. So there's one last one that I'm considering.
How heavy? I mean, where are we sitting right now?
I've got 3 left, maybe 4.
Take the floor then. Go ahead.
Yeah, why don't you just go ahead and start rolling through them?
All right. So we'll stay in the Big Ten, and I think it's this Iowa-Minnesota game. Did you guys see that? The total's sitting at what, 58?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, I mean, right? That's
high.
That's super high.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Iowa and Minnesota. I get it. It's not the old Minnesota necessarily, but it's still the same old Iowa. And I don't know whether this gets high because of the 49 points they put up on Michigan State last week, but Iowa punted it. Iowa scored 49 points last week and still managed to punt it 7 times in that game. I mean, if that ain't an Iowa 49-point win, like, I don't know what is. That's remarkable. So it was 5.7 yards per play last week against Michigan State. So not that they had a bad offensive performance at all, but it certainly wasn't like some sort of breakout explosion. Minnesota offense has been good, but they are heavy in the run game. It's Rashad Bateman and Mo Ibrahim, and it's those 2 guys, and that's it. And what does Iowa do well? I mean, they're going to stop the run, or they're going to at least slow down the run. They're not going to give them explosive plays. They're going to keep everything in front of them. This is just the way they're built. Iowa had a 58-point game suggests that someone's getting in the 30s, and I don't know that I have faith that Iowa's going to get in the 30s. And I certainly have faith that they're going to keep Minnesota out of the 30s. No one got in the 30s on them last year. And in the past 3 years, they've had 5 opponents that have gotten in the 30s on them. So, or 30s or more. So I just think that this is, I mean, Iowa's 9th in the country in defensive rushing success rate. I think that I don't know. Maybe I'm just totally off base here, but this seems like a layup for an under.
I'm not playing anything in this game. It's on Friday night, by the way. My concern is that Minnesota's defense has been so bad. And I feel like I agree with you. I don't think Minnesota is going to be able to put up a lot of points in this game against the Iowa defense. And I do think that because, Minnesota, you said they run the ball well. Iowa does really well stopping the run. It has done really well stopping the run. But Minnesota's defense is so bad. Like, Minnesota is 115th nationally in success rate against the run. Like, they just aren't stopping anybody. And I think that Iowa is going to be able to move the ball pretty easily. The question will be, can Iowa finish off in the red zone? Because that has been a problem for it at some points. But I'm not taking anything in this game. If I was going to take anything, I would probably be more comfortable laying it with Iowa than I would attacking the total, because this total, you're right, it does seem too high. And that kind of sets alarm bells off in my head. Like, wait, why is this total so high? And maybe it's just because they're way wrong and you're right. But I'd rather be on the Iowa side here.
All right. Should I take another one?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Let's head out to the Pac-12. How about that? So I'm playing. Last week, I played USC. Mm-hmm. I said it was a bad performance by me, a bad slate, but like maybe a little hard on myself there. Like, probably the one just flat out wrong play I had was USC. Like, they had no business laying 10.5 to Arizona State. Herm Edwards and the boys, those are always a tough out. So
Marvin Lewis and Antonio Pierce.
Yeah.
Sick. It an awesome game plan.
Dumb play. But now they got Arizona, and they're laying an even bigger number at 14. Arizona, keep in mind, where it was a total mess on defense last year. Fired their defensive coordinator midway through the season. Was sort of coaching shorthanded. They go out, they hire Paul Rhodes as their defensive coordinator this year. who was the DB coach at UCLA prior. Before that, he was the Arkansas defensive coordinator.
Isn't he so damn proud? Right? Iowa State.
Yeah.
He was at Paul Rhodes, the
he's
Iowa
so
State.
damn proud.
Yeah, he was at Iowa State.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. All right. So like Paul Rhodes, I just sort of looked this up, just kind of out of curiosity, right? So the last time he was a defensive coordinator is 2017. Arkansas had the 116th best defense in the country in terms of yards per play. And then before that, he wasn't a D coordinator until prior to his Iowa State head coaching stint. That was, I guess, he came from Auburn. But in sort of recent memory, this is Paul Rhodes, the defenses he's been associated with. All right. In 2013, this is where I start things because that was where he took a dip. He was 75th in 2012 at Iowa State in defensive yards per play. 2013, we're kind of getting into the modern age of college football. 98th in the country, 117th, then 105th. Those are his last 3 years at Iowa State. He goes on. He's a DB's coach at Arkansas. They're 123rd in the country. 2017, as the defensive coordinator at Arkansas, they're 116th in the country. As a DB coach at UCLA in 2018, they're 95th in the country. Last year, DB's coach at UCLA, they're 123rd in the country. I know that the DB's coach only has so much control over the defense, but my point is he's just been associated. He hadn't been associated with a good defense in a decade and at like over that. And so you're coming in now, and this is an Arizona's team that lost their starting linebacker to Texas Tech. Their other starting linebacker is like the best player on West Virginia's team. Their two answers at defensive tackle are a New Mexico and New Mexico State grad transfers. Now you have a new defensive coordinator that hadn't been associated with a good defense in 15 years. And you've got an offense that plays with a lot of pace. And I was tempted to play in the over here, but 67.5 sounds really high, especially when Arizona had a few games last year where it just didn't get any points on the board. So all that to say, I'm playing USC because if USC can't get this offense oiled up and ready to go against a team like Arizona, then I don't know if you can have faith in them to cover anything this year. So let's see what they can do against an Arizona team that I think is probably not very good at all. Nothing
better than a lock that is finalized with, and I'm testing the principle here. This is my last try. It is a lock unless it busts, and then I'm out. I've been there. Yeah, I feel it. All right. I'll keep it in the Pac-12 because I was afraid that you were going to undercut me because we talk about the former quarterbacks facing their old teams. How about the old pass the chalk battle between Jonathan Smith and Jimmy Lake? How about Oregon State and Washington? And with our beloved Beavs catching nearly 2 tutties, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get 14. I think it might be a 13 and a half type play. But this is going to be a game that I think both coaching staffs are very comfortable with it being competitive. And since Washington did not get out and play, now I think that we've got don't we have a trend that would favor Washington in that sense? I guess.
Yes. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but yes, teams playing their first game against teams they've already played have done pretty well. I see all this familiarity between the former Washington defensive coordinator and the former Washington offensive coordinator back in the comfy confines in Seattle. I think that we might be able to maybe Tristan Gebbia's got a couple of tricks up his sleeve going up against a Huskies defense that Jonathan Smith knows very well. And, Jimmy Lake is probably going to enjoy the X's and O's battle that goes into this. And 13.5 is a big number when you've got so much familiarity between the two head coaches. So give me our beloved Beavs in the 11 o'clock Eastern time kick will be decided on the instant reaction pod result. Oregon State as the dog on the road. Hold on, I'm looking up the number here for you. It is currently, teams playing for the first time this year against a team that have already played have gone 20-9 against the spread. Yeah.
I know that I am fighting in the face of trends and backing a team that just lost to Washington State, but I liked the matchup.
Listen, I'm rooting for you. I'm always rooting for Oregon State. but I'm also rooting for Washington. But after watching that Oregon State defense last week, good luck.
I got one more 2-for-1 special back in the SEC. By the way, I want to get this in before the game gets canceled because there is a lot of rumors swirling this game. It is Kentucky-Vanderbilt. 50-50 is the odds that I've been told. I'm on a show Friday night on CBS Sports Network entitled Inside the SEC. Typically, we run down every matchup. This could be like we're really honing in on Arkansas, Florida, and South Carolina, Ole Miss. It could be that. But Vanderbilt, Kentucky is on the board. I like Kentucky in this one. It's a big number. It's 17. Vanderbilt's just bad. They're really, really struggling. I missed them last week versus Mississippi State because Mississippi State is bad as well. But I think Kentucky will get back on track. They're coming off of a bye week. I think they'll try to run the football a little bit more. Clearly, that's what they want to do. I know they made a change at quarterback, but it's by necessity. Their defense, by the way, is still third in the SEC. So they're still out there clawing, holding, trying to fight there for their head coach. Vanderbilt is ranked 11th in the SEC in total offense. Guess who's 14th? Kentucky. These are two bad offenses with one good defense. I'm going to take Kentucky laying the 17th, and I'm going to take the under because I think this game is going to be gross. So that's going to be my 2-for-1 special right there.
Gross.
I like those, and I'm going to join you. We've got one fight, and now let's go shoot down a MiG. We notably, did you guys see the announcement today? Kentucky offensive line coach John Schlarman has passed away. This is like unbelievable story. Like this guy has basically been fighting cancer while coaching, really taking no breaks for over 2 years. I think his last game on the sideline was against Kentucky. It was against Tennessee when they won 34-7. I just think this team will probably be playing with a lot of emotion. I think that they'll be really invested in trying to win this one because of, for the coach. And so I think that's an interesting sort of subplot there, but I'm also on this one. I think Kentucky is a good team. I don't think Mississippi State was a good team, and a good team is just, they're going to give Vanderbilt more than it can handle.
All right. Anything else before we move on to Moneyline Sprinkles?
I'm going to toss one more on there.
All right.
I am taking, let me see where I can get it at, the under 57.5 in Baylor and Texas Tech. Current forecast, if I could find it, for Saturday in this game, call for winds between 15 and 20 miles per hour blowing through AT&T Stadium there in Lubbock. And I think that Baylor defensively, the way that they've played the entire season, just lends itself towards the under. And when I combine that with the weather forecast, it's like, yeah, okay, let's just do it.
There you go. All right. Moving it on to Moneyline Sprinkles. To look back at last week's Moneyline Sprinkles, we had, Michigan's, I don't even know what week it was. Let's see the standings. Danny 6-4, up 5.75 units. Tom 4-7, up 3.55 units. Chip at 4-9, up 0.35 units, and Barton at 3-7, up negative 1.5 units. So I guess Danny, what's your Moneyline Sprinkle for the week?
I got multiple. Should I just lay them out there? I'm getting a little cocky. I'm feeling a little overconfident. I'll give them too quick because we already talked about two of these games. And I know I'm going against some of you guys, but I was in the mindset when I was exhibiting extreme discipline. If you're going to take this side, why take the points? Because I don't think it's a cover, just a cover. I think it's either an outright win or, it's an ugly loss. I'm going to put the faith in Michigan. I'm going to say Michigan playing backs against the wall. Now, I'm making an assumption here that I am not 100% sure of, that those players like their coach, right? That they went to Michigan. They chose Michigan because they want to play for Jim Harbaugh, that they want to play for Don Brown, that there is some sort of sense of pride. The other thing is, too, Graham Mertz played one game, and he was phenomenal. but it was one game where everything started to go their way. They're playing from a lead. It's a little bit easier to play from there. So I'm curious to see how they do. So I'm taking Michigan on the money line. The other game, what's my number there? What can I get there?
170.
Plus 170. All right. The other game I'm looking at is the Miami Hurricanes. And this is another one. I think you guys might be on the right side, and this is totally fading the DK special mindset. But I do think you have one massive difference, and that is De'Ara King, who put this team on his back. I'm banking that Miami is as good as their record says they are. And you talked about Justin Fuentes, some of the issues that are people calling for his head. I think there's a massive amount of stress on Virginia Tech to get it done at home.
True.
So I'm going to say the Hurricanes win the game outright.
Plus 108.
Perfect. I got one more because I missed out on a wouldn't it be funny last week, and I'm kind of mad at myself. And I texted you guys. You don't even have to believe me, but I'm not leaving them out there anymore because I was gonna say, wouldn't it be funny if Hugh Freeze at Liberty won against Virginia Tech? But I didn't do it. We were up against the clock, so I didn't get it out there. Well, wouldn't it be funny? I mean, it wouldn't be funny to Penn State fans. But Penn State is 0-3. Traveling to Nebraska as a 3.5-point favorite. It wouldn't be funny to Penn State fans, but Scott Frost playing at home. I like this. Maybe Penn State's not that good. He's talking about making a change at quarterback. This one has all the makings of an upset. Everybody and their brother is on Penn State, so this is sort of a fade the public play too. So I'm going to take Nebraska to win outright at home too.
Plus 135.
Love it.
And I'm out. That's it.
There you go. Oh, man. All right, Tom, what's yours?
I've got two. One I hinted at earlier with one of my locks. I'm going to take Army plus 172 against Tulane. And then for my other one, I'm going to the ACC. I am taking Louisville on the road at Virginia to win outright at plus 154.
You just can't quit the Cards. Team's too good for that record.
Mm-hmm.
Disappointing. I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but I want to know what the price is on the Boston College Eagles.
You ready to blaze it? Because I can get it at 420.
Let's go. Yeah. Money line sprinkle. Boston College. College football is weird, man. You catch these strange bounces, and we're just going to look up, and it's going to be a one-loss Clemson. Like, we are playing out Notre Dame like it's going to win all the rest of its games. It's hard to win in college football. We'll see. Give me Boston College. Sprinkle it. Barton.
I don't hate it, but here's what I'm going to do, because similar principle, college football is weird. What do we really know about the Pac-12?
Nothing.
What do we really know? We know nothing. We know absolutely nothing. And we know, yes, the Ducks took care of business against Stanford. We all know what I think about Stanford. They missed 4 field goals in that game. Washington State, the money line here is 300, something like that.
Yep.
Give me Wazoo, Nick Rolovich, plus 300, blow up the Pac-12. Give it to me.
I love it.
Love it. To review our locks, we have a lock war, Boston College and Notre Dame. That is Tom and Chip on Boston College, Barton and Danny on Notre Dame. Tom's card, he's got Virginia Tech minus 1.5, Army plus 5.5, the under 52.5 in Pitt-Georgia Tech, Northwestern minus 2.5, and the under in that game, Baylor at Texas Tech under 57.5. Barton's also got Michigan plus 4.5, Arkansas plus 17.5, NC State minus 9.5, the over in Ole Miss-South Carolina, Kentucky minus 17, USC minus 14, and the under in Iowa, Minnesota. Chip's got Virginia Tech minus 1.5 against Miami, Arkansas plus 17.5, Wake UNC over 66, and Oregon State plus 13.5. And Danny's got Wisconsin, Michigan over, Indiana minus 7 at Michigan State, Indiana, Michigan State over, the Ole Miss, South Carolina under, Kentucky minus 17, and the under 42.5 in that Kentucky Vanderbilt game. You can follow him on Twitter at Danny Cannell. You can follow him at Tom Fernell. You can follow him at Barton Simmons. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.